Trust me, there are deer from Ohio that come across into Pennsylvania. They cross that state road line. They do it. Then they jump rack real quick. Put a hoof in and out.
Not touching you.
I didn't die. Yeah. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Heck yeah, man. Dude, we put a lot of food in the ground every year, seemingly more and more, and we have a ton of fun with it during the off season. There's some struggles that come with it too, though, right? Obviously, the back of my truck is evidence, right now. It's a couple weeks after I jackknifed, a 4,800-pound material spreader, as I was coming down, and it was too much weight for my truck there. But, all those struggles aside, Deer Grow really has been a staple for our food plotting process for several years now. Yes, we like to put lime and fertilizer on the plots, if we can, but there are some that it's just we're not able to get to them, or it's not feasible for us to get out of state with that stuff. And so Deer Grow is kind of the quick and easy, but still super effective option for us to be able to get the most out of those food plots that we can every year.
Yeah, and we're guilty of overanalyzing things just like everyone else, but that's the best part about Deer Grow is that it's going to create healthier soils, which in turn makes better food plots. And the fact is we can simply spray plot start or plot till when we put the seed in the ground, and then when that plant starts to grow, we hit it with boost. And we know that we walk away, when we come back, it's going to be a great looking food plot. For anybody that's looking to try Deer Grow, if you use the code HUNTR15, that's HUNTR15 at checkout for deergrow.com, you're going to save 15% on any of your Deer Grow products. It's a great way to get started on this and just see what the results are for yourself.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast, episode 174, and Nick's on spring break. I didn't even know that existed in your mid-20s.
Well, he's something with his girlfriend, right?
Yeah, that's why.
No, it's her birth, like some kind of birthday trip or something.
It's spring break.
So happy birthday and spring break to Nick. And what's his girlfriend's name? I'll leave it off. I don't know. Yeah,
Nick's girlfriend.
Have to catch us up here.
We don't want to make it public.
So wherever you guys are listening, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you guys being here and tuning in from week to week. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever's appropriate on the channel. And here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, we try to read those comments as much as we can. We try to keep up with them.
Yeah, if you guys are watching like the actual video, you can see behind Jeremy's. We got some new drywall up there. Doing got a little construction
going on here in the old studio. So over the next few podcasts, you'll probably see this start to transform a little bit, I guess would be the best way to say it.
We had a curtain back there for a long time, and so because
we had like nothing at first, right? It was just open wall when we started this.
Yeah.
Then it went to curtain.
We put a curtain up. We're like, that seems appropriate. And then you at some point were like, I like a little more decor.
We had that little folder here with like our shelf and decor on it.
And finally, whatever we are here, 4 years into podcasting, we're like that. It calls for a wall.
We built a wall.
We've reached the level of whatever point here we decided to put a wall in there. So we're gonna.
It's a great wall.
It's a wall. It's huge.
We didn't pay for the wall.
Yeah. Well, so if you hear us coughing and rubbing our eyes, there's drywall all in the air and stuff. But we'll get that painted out, pull Nick in. We'll buy the boys some beers and we'll get the sucker painted up and looking good here probably for the next one. So, but for today, we're under construction.
Construction.
Yeah, it's looking good.
I think the audio is already a little bit better.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
It sounds a little different, huh?
Yeah. Not so much open.
Yep, I agree. The subtlest change, you can pick up on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've been doing it for 4 years.
Even with these like noise canceling headphones,
you pick up on it.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's different. I like it though. It's cool. Yeah, got black ceiling tiles on it and stuff. So by the end, I bet it'll feel way more like we're here and only here.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be
block everything.
I think it'll be good. There. So it is March 14th. Mid-March.
It's my sister's birthday. I called her yesterday just as a preventative. Like I'm not gonna miss it.
Yep. So mid-March already. Feels like mid-March out too. It's been like 60s, 70s.
I know.
Weather's been crazy.
It's beautiful out. Ice cream weather.
Ice cream weather. Yeah. Selling season at this point, right?
We're open for the season. And so we actually took a week off last week, right?
Yep.
And so we haven't caught up really since we have been in Iowa and did all of that. And so we've been... Yeah, very, very, a lot of March activities happening.
Yeah, a lot of...
got boxes of seed sitting out there.
Oh, I know.
Up and on T-shirts.
I frost-seeded a bunch.
Picking the bows up from the old bow shop today.
A little bit Ultimate Outdoors with Tim.
The new Hoyts, the new Eastons, we're all dialed in. Yeah, buddy.
I like it. Yeah, a lot of March activities. So let's see. We'll kind of recap. It's just Jared and I today. And you're still here.
Yeah, and we're full on work mode. So it's like give us a couple minutes here to lock in on.
I've got a couple things circling in the brain here. So, I guess let's start with Iowa, right? Because we haven't recapped Iowa and the Deer Classic.
Let's never leave Iowa.
Yeah,
let's just stay there.
Yeah. So we went out. We spent 4 days in Iowa? 2 days, kind of walking, half a day.
Three, I think.
3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, spent a few days in Iowa. Walked some farms, quite a few farms actually. We covered a lot of ground in a day and a half, essentially.
And my heel's still showing it. I'm all blistered up. Well, I'm in good shape now, but yeah, that was pretty serious.
We had a police escort into the town. First night in. Yeah. Almost made it, boys. Almost made it.
Yeah, 2 miles.
2 miles away.
Probably didn't help that we were high beaming and going 75 into 55. So.
Yeah, it was late. We were dragging butt a little bit.
And when I say we,
it was me.
Jared was driving. So.
Yeah. Is it 74 into 55? That doesn't sound right.
It does sound like something I would do.
No, there's no way. And you were high beaming. Well, okay. That makes sense.
I thought it was funny how he said it. He's like, the speed limit in the state of Iowa is 55. I was like, the whole state?
Everywhere? On Main Street? I'm like blowing by Casey's?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think that's a fact.
He let us go, though. He was cool.
Yep.
He knew we were there. Well, he figured we were there for shed hunting and stuff. He had some South Dakota plates on a rental and stuff. And so that was cool. Yeah, got into our Airbnb and it was late. We lost an hour on the way there, but I mean, dude, it's Iowa. You make the use of every minute you got. So we had pretty routine Casey's around there.
Every morning.
Nailed that right away.
Coffee and pizza.
An apple fritter.
And the apple fritter.
And some Casey's dollar bills, the napkins for the old...
They're stacked. That fuels the fire for the rest of the day.
Oh, dude.
Really sets the tone.
I was feeling good.
Yeah.
We walked like 16 miles, and I think I gained a pound or two just from this Casey's trip.
Yeah. We found... a handful of sheds, probably. A lot of 2 and 3 year olds.
Yep. No megas, but
megas.
Yeah, we found. We probably found 7 or 8 sheds over the whole thing, and then I found a mid-60s deadhead.
Yep. It was a ton of sign. Sign was insane.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. Just where you would expect it, and it's like there it is. This is a spot. Mark it down. Almost to the point in some of those areas though that we found sign. It's like I don't know. It's like I have to set up here, but it's hard to access or it wasn't necessarily where you thought you would gonna be set up based on the maps and stuff. And
yeah, well, a lot of easily overlooked, stuff from a map. So like the first, there's a handful of farms we've got access to that are, smaller comparatively, like just some of the bigger, private that we've got permission.
And preface, first time we've ever been out there. So this is completely blind. We're going in. All we've done is study maps. Essentially.
Yeah. Well, so we're still very much on the piecing together. Are we going to draw? Where, where can we get access? How do we piece together a strat? In a somewhat centralized region of Iowa, so that we can plan a place to stay and stuff. Because I know Airbnbs and hotels, they all get booked.
Yeah, and we don't want to be driving an hour each way to a property. That's exhausting as it is.
Yep. So how do we focus on an area and then spend time there, which is what we did on this past trip. And then the next challenge is, how do we figure out what's on what farms, which bucks,
Yeah, we didn't put any cameras out or anything. It was just purely scouting mission, basically. On
which, truthfully, I'm kicking ourselves a little bit. In hindsight, I wish we would have taken some regular cameras,
just so we could pull cards.
So because we know we're going back to hang cell cameras anyways, it's like at that point you just pull them and see if you got something to go on.
Yeah, I'm in the process of an inventory on all my cameras, and I think I'm going to sell a bunch of the cell cams for some higher end regular cams.
Are you?
I really enjoyed being able to pull those cards here in the last couple weeks that sat all season.
Yeah, they're nice to have to marinate.
Yeah,
and for this time of season, because you don't need to know in real time. It's at some point
I want to data. I just wanted to make sure that these deer were. Yep, here they are. Here's this buck. He's coming out of here every day. That makes sense based on where I got him over here.
I agree.
So I bury a lot of those cameras in or near bedding.
Sure.
And just leave them,
sure.
And so that way it helps me connect the dots from those cell cams when I'm getting pictures in real time. When I finally pull that card, it's like, no shit, that's where it was coming from.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. It's like, running cameras is almost like running a trap line.
Yep.
In a way where it's like you have kind of a route that even if it's not drawn out in your head, here's my strategy for pulling, checking, refreshing, baiting, whatever your strategy is there.
So yeah, we probably should have.
So I leave the regular camera is like on the roads. Like,
Yeah.
So if you're using a vehicle road system, it's like I can pop out and pull this one's pretty easy. So
Yeah, and mine aren't too far from that, but they're deeper than I would normally put my cell cam, or at least I don't want to go back there at all throughout the season. Right. You know, so unfortunately, if a cell cam dies, like I feel like I got to go back there and change the battery.
Yeah,
and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you do.
You know, I just want to leave it go, and
I'll
pick it up at the end of the year, and it's just again for mapping and understanding patterns more than anything.
So, anyways, we could have done that. You know, maybe we'll get back in the summer or something to do that. But so, anyways, that's kind of where we're at in the process. Is we walked a bunch of those farms. A lot of them are, I wouldn't call them fringe farms. It's just that part of Iowa that we're focusing on is like there just isn't not a lot of woods.
No, it's very, very open ag country.
A lot of ag, and there's CRP on some of the farms, and then fingers of woods, which frankly, from a movement standpoint, it's like just them right down. It's
just
like they got to come through here. So it was weird. I mean, you and I think had the mutual feeling of like on one hand, it's like I've never seen so much sign. It's like and so that's exciting. You're like okay, but on the other hand, I'm like, you're trying to figure out what to do with it. You're like, so do I just hunt here? Like, Yeah,
and it was in some of the spots that, going out there, just because of people and everything, it's like, man, I really want to get in and away from people, right? That's where these big bucks are going to be. And like where some of the sign was, it's like, there's the truck right there.
Right up front there.
Yeah. So, and to that point, I think that was some of the, aha moments we had where we know where people were parking, and we found, giant buck beds watching it. Like they're watching people pull in and walk back, and they're like, screw that, dude. I ain't going back there.
Was that Ozonics that came up with that? The aha moment?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, the old aha. It was probably Jay Gregory's idea.
The
Lost
aha
Jay.
moment, yeah.
Or Winky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, clearly these bucks were positioned on these small, like, ridges. I think the one that we found was right off of the end of, like, a pond levee. And they're watching there's one parking area. They're watching straight down. You'll pull in, you'll park. He knows you're there. He's going to watch your headlamp, walk back, and he's going to be like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Well, on all of those farms that we walked on the first day, I think, so, we'd glanced at maps and got an idea, have a little bit of a strategy. And like, it's not because we're like experts at studying maps. It's fairly straightforward, So I think whatever, we're probably 9 for 10 or 10 for 10 to when we look at a map and we're like, okay, I expect to see this here. And we'd go there and we're like, yep, there it is. Yeah. Okay, mark the spot and then and move on. So, I mean, that's great. It's fairly easy to read. And like, so now, like I said, the part, or the next step anyways, is figuring out what's where, which bucks do we want to hunt. And
I think the other,
hopefully we can turn up a good inventory,
The other hard part, even with our lone wolves is limited trees, and not so much. I mean, again, because of the opening, a lot of fence rows and stuff. So, I mean, you're hunting on the line to begin with. But from an access standpoint, playing the wind, like a lot of the way that these fingers run is like, man, on any west or northwest wind, it's going to blow right back down that finger where you expect the deer to come from. And here's your tree that you need to be in. So, it really came down. There's plenty of times I think you and I stopped and we're kind of processing, like, where are we willing to give up the wind to him necessarily to just have an opportunity that maybe when he catches it, it's too late anyways. Because that's just how those fingered and open properties set up is, inevitably you're going to give up the wind to a buck at some point. It's just, where's your best chance to either have him in the mistake zone at that point, or hopefully it's not the deer you're hunting, right? You're giving it up to deer that are just cruising these wood lines.
Well, I think that's maybe one of the harder things to find, like the first time walking a farm, or even just from a map, is we probably talked about it 2 weeks with that like tin shed gas line stand. It's like, you can kill a deer out of any tree that he comes within 30 yards of, throughout a time of travel. And so you could call that a good stand or whatever. But there's only a few and when you really drill it down, a very, very finite number of locations that are bulletproof in the sense that they can be accessed time and time again, without detection, and that the wind gives them the favor so that you'll catch daylight movement, but
it
almost
doesn't
never
blow
catch
for
it.
you.
And those are the
so rare.
Those are the places that you're trying to identify, but until you really understand, you can look at terrain features, you can read sign, but until you sit and observe, they're really difficult to pinpoint. And when there's so much habitat where it's just, thousands of acres of contiguous habitat, it can be tough.
Yeah.
That's one of the positives, I guess, of hunting like cattle country.
Yep.
Or even urban areas, or places where there's like essentially dead zones. It's like
the deer aren't going to come from here.
Yeah, where they're not going to come from provides an opportunity for access or to blow wind into, and so that's, we don't know until we kind of spend some time there how that's going to play out. But
I mean, it was good. I mean, drinking from a fire hose while you're out there, like just trying to take everything in and store spots in your mind. And, the sign was easy to find. But again, it comes down to like, there are a few spots that I think we found that are like, this is a no-brainer as long as there's a deer that we want to kill that's using it.
Yep.
Which,
well, based on the time of year that we're wanting to hunt, I mean, that's what you find. You go and you find the spots. It's like, it's what it is. If you're hunting a rut, and so again, we don't know. That's part of the strategy. Is like, number one, what's where. Number two, is there something that we can take advantage of on a movement pattern?
Yep.
I mean, everybody knows at this point that like November gets kind of nuts, and you're likely to kill a buck.
Yep.
But will it be the one that you've seen hitting those scrapes for the month of October? Maybe not. So is October part of the strategy? Between now and then, I guess we'll figure that out. But like you said, we found spots that are like no-brainer spots, no-brainer rut spots. So,
yeah, we talked to a lot of people at the Deer Classic, and the first thing they said is like, well, what kind of sheds did you find? The reality is most of the spots that we used are not wintering ranges, right? There is no food.
Yep.
It's gone. I mean, it's barren bean fields and corn stubble in some cases. There's nothing left behind. Those deer are probably either long lining or they've moved out of there. And so, like, as, I guess, discouraging as it was to not be like, man, here's like a giant 4-year-old set of sheds we found. One, it was probably already walked before we got there. Two, I don't think the deer are there anyways right now, but the signs there indicating from at least mid-October through most of November, like they're laying sign, they're laying scrapes, they're laying rubs, which is what we care about.
Sure.
So yeah, it's kind of a I know a lot of people are like, man, it'd be great, it'd be awesome if we found a big set of sheds knowing that deer was in there, but also like doesn't mean that he's going to be there during the rut next year either. If he's wintering there, that doesn't mean he's always there.
Definitely. Well, I mean, dude, shed hunting is its own thing. It's like, first of all, we're scouting more than we're shed hunting. So it's like, and when it starts feeling like, hey, I was walking through some of those cedar overlooks, like those little nooks and stuff. I'm like, you could find a shed in here.
Oh yeah.
But a majority of the time, we're walking quickly. Like
we're trying to get to certain points because we're like, we want to analyze when we get here.
Cover ground, and just analyzing the terrain and stuff like that. And so, I mean, to the shed thing, it's like, yeah, dude, like you can, I mean, it's not baiting, but it's feeding. You can feed in Iowa. So like as soon as the season ends, either guys are filling feeders or chances are they're standing grain or winter wheat.
Standing grain. Yeah. We did see some standing grain out there.
Yep. And so I mean, that's where the sheds are at. So that doesn't discourage me at all. In fact, we walked one of those properties, walked this entire drainage out. I mean, there was no section of cover that we didn't walk, and then we're walking back to the truck on the road next to it, and we look at them like there's two big bucks, shed bucks, but big mature deer.
And I mean, I had humped right through the middle of that thing.
I'm like, where did they come from?
Yeah, they just were moseying on out.
Hang tight, or did they run in from somewhere else after we left?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because that was gnarly thick in there, and I did find a couple sheds through there. But yeah, I mean, those were definitely two mature bucks that had popped out. So yeah, whether they were sitting up high and they saw us pull in and they're like, yep, we know what these guys are doing. We're not gonna move.
Yeah.
Or we bumped them from somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah. So
strange though, but yeah, it's a whole different beast out there.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt Archery.
Oh, dude, it's almost fall. You and I are both going to be in a tree stand with brand new Hoyt bows. We're going to be shooting the RX-7 carbon bow this year. I know Hoyt's also got the Venoms out, both equally smooth shooting, quiet bows.
Heck yeah, man. And we got a convert on our hands this year. We got a lifelong crossbow guy with a vertical bow in his hands for maybe the first time ever, a good friend of mine. And we've got him all decked out with the inline accessories from the QAD integrated Ultra Rest to the quiver. And also he's got the SL sidebar mount with a couple of stabilizers from Hoyt as well. So that's going to be a sick shooting bow.
Yeah, and Hoyt's been cool enough that anyone listening to this can save 20% on any of the soft good apparels online using the code HUNTR, HUNTR, no E. And if you want to look at the latest lineup of Hoyt bows, check out your local Hoyt dealer.
Get serious? Get Hoyt.
For a first preview for us, I mean, Iowa lived up to the hype.
I'd agree. Yeah, I mean, it's saw everything we wanted to see. The EHD was one thing that we didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah, because we were in areas that had been hit. We just didn't know how hard.
Yeah, and fortunately, that first farm that we walked was a 150, and it's the only one that we found.
Yeah, 9.
Yeah, we found 9 on it, on a 150, and right around those water sources for the most part and stuff. And everything else we walked after that was, we found a few here and there, but nothing.
Yeah. That 160 you found likely, but maybe not. I mean, we kind of discussed it. Like, he looked like he was pretty far out of velvet by the time he died. But
sure was.
But also, I know people were saying at the Classic, like, they were finding EHD deer like in November, which was mind blowing. Yeah. So it's hard to. It used to be like you could tell when you pick them up, like velvet's just peeling off or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's an EHD deer. But based on the longer time frame that EHD was affecting the state, hard to tell. Could have been, gut shot during gun season. Could have got hit by a car. Could have been EHD. Couldn't nail it down to why that deer died. Regardless, like an awesome deer though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's just funny, the more places you go, or more just deer that you're exposed to, it's like those deer just score better. Like I feel like it's like I hold it and it's like
it's a good buck.
Don't get me wrong, it's a decent buck, but I'm like, and I can figure it out. I'm looking at it, I'm like, boy, it's not real heavy or anything. It probably was a 4-year-old buck, I would guess. And then
the beams and tine length
a number of times, and our buddy taped it out afterwards, and he's like, 164. And for most people, 164, I mean, it's a giant buck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, and then like you said, we went to the Classic after that and stuff, the next couple of days. And it's just like, it's just like, it's mine,
Dude, we walked into that Classic scoring room and stuff, and we're walking around there, and it just is like, why, if I lived in Iowa, I would not hunt anywhere else.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's just over and over again, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 200s. And it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, then the Iowans are walking around like, oh, it's a pretty rough year.
Yeah, they're like, rough year. I'm like,
we're way down.
What?
It's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's the Mecca for a reason.
Yeah. So we did that Friday. We went to the Classic, which was fun. Good to walk around, meet a ton of people, which was really cool. And then Friday night, we went to the Iowa Sportsman's Club event, which is basically our buddy Skip and Taylor and Chris Duncan, like all those guys trying to keep Iowa great from a deer hunting perspective. I mean, that's the foundation of the club, is to raise money to fight the good fight at the legislature level to keep Iowa great, and that's fending off a lot of things that people don't even know are happening, right? Obviously, I think people are aware now that, crossbow lobbyists are pushing hard in Iowa, have been for a while, just like they have in other states, because it's profitable for them. But there's a lot of things like non-resident landowner tags and things like that are coming across that, ultimately would have a giant impact on how Iowa's deer quality would be. And yeah, those guys are out there fighting it and trying to make sure that it stays at bay.
Man, I see, just constant, comments on a lot of our stuff is because it's an interesting, it is, I say interesting, but it's like, we harp on it a lot, but it's like, I see more and more often, like the perception, or like if we get flack for anything, it's like, the perception is we're promoting like restrictions of things or of more regulation and stuff. And it's like, I understand that argument. Like, I can see why people would say, well, we don't want more control in this. But listen.
Yeah, because we're less government guys.
It's not
from a basis as well.
100%. Yeah, I'm a conservative, small government. Everything that they touched is done poorly. That's how I feel about it. So However, this is not like traffic laws. This is not like tax law. This is a resource that is a public resource that needs to be managed.
Well,
I personally hate that the governing body is affiliated with some sort of government. I think that's a part of why it's done so poorly.
Who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about?
However, we all need to be in favor of, like, there can't just be lawlessness. Like, if everybody shoots every deer that they want to shoot with any method,
they're gone.
It's the reason that you have a quality herd is because it's managed, because there's season dates and bag limits.
Yeah.
So it has to happen.
It's strange, like, when we put some of those out, and sure, they're in different contexts, especially if you're looking at shorts or TikToks or whatever.
Sure. And
how many people think that deer are not a public resource? They're like, they're on my property. They're mine. No, dude, they're not. They're not your deer. Like, it is literally, like, the definition of, like, you know, the being a resource, a natural resource, is that it's a public resource. It's available to the public. And nobody owns them.
That's why there's room for debate, because as in favor as I am for managing the public resource for the benefit of all sportsmen and women, I am also just as in favor of landowner rights.
Yep.
Right? And you and I are landowners ourselves, and so I'm the last person that wants to have my rights on my land restricted.
Correct.
So there's room for debate, and I'm for it. Like,
but if we took that away and said, fine, Jared, you can shoot deer any time of the year with whatever you want on your property, it would affect the public ground or the neighbor next to you or whoever.
Right. It affects the public resource.
And people just don't understand that.
Yeah. Well,
that's why if you say, like, well, it doesn't affect you if I use a crossbow and shoot it over a corn pile, it actually does. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, because it's legal. Go for it. But you can't in the same breath say that it doesn't affect me, because it's a public resource. It does. Just like if I took 15 people on my 100 acres and said, shoot every deer you see, it would affect everybody that's around me.
Definitely. Well, and it's hard to regain ground, right? Or to give back up, right? In a sense that's like, once something is in place, or once you have the right to do something, it's hard to acknowledge that it's affecting other people around you and to give it up. So like, you know, if my archery season is going to be restricted, or, you know, the things that I care, how I do certain things, it's like, yeah, I don't want to give that up. It's my land. It's how I feel about it. It's like, I can do what I want. So
take that. It's an interesting discussion. So the weekend after Iowa, I was in Michigan for a lot of the policy debates, not just on deer, but on all things, wolves, coyotes, like all these things. And the way that the group has set up, so the group's called Michigan United Conservation Clubs. So they're essentially like the spear of Michigan sportsmen and women, of which they then go to the legislature and to the governor for lobbyist activities. Underneath that is essentially individual members and then groups, for the most part, that have varying points of views on all of these policies, and they vote on it. And whatever the vote ends up being is the position, essentially, that Michigan United Sportsman Club or Michigan United Conservation Clubs take moving forward. What's interesting about it is, like, the hottest debate there, besides, there was a couple, but the hottest one there was antler point restrictions. For the state of Michigan. First of all, I didn't know until a lot of guys were talking to me about it. Michigan's a $2 state, which seems crazy because besides Pennsylvania, I think they have the highest hunter density of any other state.
Just for residents? Or do you know?
In terms of $2?
Can residents shoot, non-residents shoot $2?
Yeah.
They can.
So it's on, you have to buy a combo license, basically. Yep.
Okay.
But so no antler point restrictions, except for, I think there's a certain set of counties in the northwest part of the state that do it. They've been in there for, 4, 5 years plus, and they're in favor of it. They've seen the results of what antler point restrictions have done. If, according to the DNR, they did some survey, so take it for what it's worth, bias or not, it's like 3/4 of the hunters are in favor of antler point restrictions statewide, right, to put it in place. And this is this regulation thing where people are like, well, don't change don't tell me what to do. I don't want more regulation. I understand that. They're trying to increase the buck age structure. That's what they're trying to do. We get to the voting portion of it, and the APR in favor side loses 75% to 25%. And it's a major piece because the groups who are well organized, that are against it are the ones carrying more of the votes because because they're well organized, right? They have more members, thus they have more voting delegates essentially towards this thing. And so, it's interesting that you see different groups. For instance, Michigan Bow Hunters Association, which is, I didn't know until that point, is very traditional archery based, right? Recurves longbows, not really in favor of compounds, is against APRs. They would rather just be hunting like they have been hunting and not change it. And, I understand that completely. Obviously, groups like National Deer Association, right, NDA, formerly QDMA, are in favor of APRs. So you get these varying groups, but what seems to be kind of interesting is that a lot of the groups, according to the DNR, don't represent what the public interest is, right, what the majority wants. But because the majority is not organized, it doesn't have that big of an effect on the level to go to the legislature, essentially. So, every state's different in that standpoint. In fact, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, Warb, Hunting Public, posted something about Kentucky, and this was a big one because I called him last night. Kentucky's Wildlife and Fisheries Department, the House of Representatives, I guess, have made a bill to move the Kentucky Wildlife and Fisheries underneath the Department of Ag, whereas right now it's under the Department of Tourism. That's a bad move.
Oh, interesting.
Real bad move. If, no offense to the farmers who are making money and stuff, the Department of Ag hates deer.
Yeah, how are those at all the same? I don't understand.
It's a nuisance. To me, it's just a pure power grab at this point. Like fortunately, because I own land in Kentucky, I was able to call my senator and House of Rep guy and just make sure that they were understanding, like, every group, every conservation group, every Sportsman Alliance group, whatever, has opposed this thing, and it's already got out of the House. Now it's going on to the Senate for approval. And it clearly is a bad thing, right? The reason it was under the Department of Tourism is that it's an economic boost to the state, right? From a standpoint of bringing people in to see the wildlife, to see the elk in eastern Kentucky, from a non-resident hunting standpoint.
I don't necessarily understand, like, why isn't it its own thing? Like, it's
just the way that the government is structured in Kentucky. Yeah, it's under a department.
It's neither of those things. I mean, it affects ag and it affects tourism, but it's wildlife management. Like, it's
the way that the original, structure of the government was laid out in that state. And so, so it was under tourism. Now they want to move it under ag.
So like, what is it under in other states?
So in some states, I don't know if anybody else has ag. So Kansas is under Parks, Wildlife, and Tourism. Like that is its own department, essentially.
So there you go. So it's encompassing parks and wildlife and tourism.
And tourism under the standpoint.
That makes sense.
Yep. And in Pennsylvania, it's a standalone. Right. It's not under anything. Right. You've got, DEC or NRC, the actual natural resource side. Then you've got wildlife. Then you've got Fish and Boat Commission. Department of Ag is separate from that. They've always wanted to do things like the Department of Ag wants control over CWD, right? Because Department of Ag manages high fence and breeding facilities for wildlife in Pennsylvania, but not the actual wild populations.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, if they could manage
and that's
CWD,
because it's considered like a domesticated herd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they could manage CWD,
I agree with that.
Then you have that. So, but for the most part, they're not. I don't know if anybody else is under ag. I could be wrong. But it's the fact that most of the agricultural community looks at deer as a nuisance, right? It's crop damage,
right?
So the issue then is also that the ag has appointments to the Fish and Wildlife commissions to then appoint commissioners who then are also going to be the ones who are in charge of making decisions on season limits, bag limits, etc. Which, if they're ag people, they're not going. It's not going to be for quality.
Not going to look good.
No. So, like, I made phone calls last night and talked to them for a little bit, and there's definitely a lot of noise being put out there on it. But man, even in this short, like from Iowa to Michigan to Kentucky, which I like getting into this stuff. It's kind of fun, but it's also so scary how much politics are driving what we all love. And those guys, like most of those guys have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
They have no idea.
Well, dude, I mean, on a big picture, like, dude, I just seems like the more we're exposed to like just government activities and stuff, it's like, so much of it is filmed and publicized now. It's like you see just like just madness.
It's trash.
Like it's like, what is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where to go with it, or like, how to, we can get involved from a discussion standpoint, and like there's things we can do in our own state, but it's like there's just no way to tackle it all.
It's across the board. I mean, did you see Cat Williams on Rogan yet?
I saw clips, I think.
So like one of the big clips is, the fact that
is that the one where he's like, yeah, they seem more prepared, but put us on the line, boys. See how far that takes.
No, not that one. It's the one where he's talking about the government paying to house illegal immigrants and give them money.
Right.
Yet while they're doing that, they're stepping over the homeless in the U.S.
Sure.
Like, here's all these U.S. citizens who are homeless, a lot of them being like vets and stuff like that, and you're literally stepping over them to hand an illegal immigrant a check and put a roof over their head.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and also like laying off government employees because lack of funding.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's dark, man. It's intentional too. I mean,
Sure.
it's all about voter numbers. It's like, so if I have more just of a population, even of illegals, as Biden calls them, that weighs into how many votes they have for territory. So, I mean, yeah, it's cut and dry. Like
look at the Michigan
thing.
They're
building a demographic of voters.
And I'm not saying like, Michigan should have APRs, right? I'm just saying from the standpoint of what the mass public says they want and what was voted on and what the outcome was, that was not representative of what the mass public wanted. And that then drives forward now for the next year what essentially is going to happen at a legislature level.
You say the mass public, like it's hunters that they're asking?
So DNR is sending out deer hunters a survey. From that survey, 75% of them said, we want them.
Okay.
And again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that's 100% accurate.
Well, and so I understand that, well, maybe I'd be open to hearing how antler point restrictions could affect other groups, like your ag groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, but these are all conservation groups voting on it. So when this vote happens for Michigan United Conservation Clubs, there's some individuals there, but they're mostly groups who are representing a cohort or a contingency under their specific sportsman group or bow hunters association, whatever it is, who are voting to then make the decision on what happens moving forward. And so with that being said, like how can the script be flipped from 75-25 in favor to 75-25 against when it's supposed to be the same group of sportsmen representative? It's not.
Right. And
it's the same with just general. This is where it comes back. And I'm sure so many people listening to this are like, I don't trust voting at all anymore. I mean, voting from a standpoint of like, my vote counts and how this all works is like, we've seen time and time again, like where it's like, we all look at each other like, that's not possible, is it? Like, that's really what the outcome was? The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Rack Hub.
Well, dude, sheds are starting to hit the ground.
Yeah, and although we usually don't find many of them, we've done pretty well this season so far.
I would say for just, a handful of walks, we've got a pile of sheds to show for it. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, if shed season would end today, I think it was pretty successful.
So this year, we're partnering with Rack Hub. It's an antler mounting system for your sheds.
Yeah, and obviously, people who've watched our podcast, we've got this massive pile of sheds that are on the table at all times, but you guys took the time to set up Wide Boy's shed on the R1, which is a really cool way to now have that thing right off to my left-hand side during the podcast.
So some of these sheds just call for a little bit more appreciation, I guess. So rather than being on a pile on the table, we're going to mount them on the wall, and they look awesome. So
yeah. And so if anybody wants to try Rack Hub, you can use the code HUNTR10, HUNTR10 at rackhub.com to get 10% off your order.
Use Rack Hub to make the most of your shed season. It's funny. I don't know if I told you this. I clicked on something. I must have on TikTok or Instagram or something. And it's like, it thinks I'm a liberal now.
Very nice.
So I've been getting a taste of like here and there. It's not like all the way, but it's like I'll get served these clips.
Yeah.
And it's like, it'll be like the Biden State of the Union thing.
Yeah.
And it'll be it'll be like President Biden, drives this home, like does a great job with this or that, and I'm like waiting for the punchline like the whole time, and I'm like, and it never comes, and I'm like, that was a serious video, and I'm like, and then I'll get more of it, and I'm like, there's actual people that think this way. A lot of them, apparently.
Did you see his latest TV commercial?
No.
So it's like a standard Biden commercial, right? And then it does like a blooper thing at the end, right? So it's like, whatever, supported by Biden. And then it goes back and he's like, I'm young, I'm energetic, I'm handsome. Why the hell do I got to do this again? And then it just ends. I'm like, what? What just happened?
It's so bizarre.
And the reason they did that, right, is all playing off of this special investigator report, which basically said he's an old man who forgets things. Right. So literally they tacked on at the end of the campaign this like blooper reel thing of him like joking around how he's young and energetic and to make light of it. And it's like, what? Like people believe this stuff?
Oh, that was the weird part for me, is because like so typically, and I try to be careful about what I ingest anyways, because I understand it's all skewed in one direction.
That's the whole purpose of it, is to skew your vision one way or the other.
But like, typically it's like it matches the way I feel about things. I'm like, it's my perception that he's an old, incompetent man.
Sure.
Anyways, so when I get served a video that is like fully in favor and like completely the opposite perspective, I'm like, I don't know. It just makes you think, and it's like, and I don't know. It would be negligence of me to think that people don't feel other ways, but it makes me think, why? Like, why do people feel so differently about something that to me seems so obvious? Mm-hmm. Whether it be Biden or corn piles in Ohio, right? It's like, across the whole, it's just, it's kind of crazy to realize like what a broad spectrum of feelings and emotions there are about issues like that.
Well, so one of the other big ones in Michigan that we talked about,
antler points and restrictions, there you go,
was coyote hunting. And so right now, it is, you can hunt, kill, trap a coyote year round. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think it's happening today. Today's the 14th. I'm pretty sure it's happening today. But there were arguments of reducing it by 3 months, like basically making it a 9-month season instead of year round. Right. To me, two things. Number one, that's insane. Like, why?
Well, yeah. Why?
A lot of it is around the fact that they think that they're at least using the reasoning that if we kill them during like the pup season, that the antis are going to use that against us to like wipe out things completely.
I hate that, because that's not a management driven decision.
No, but
that's a fearful. And I get it. And I mean, that's the politics at play here that we're talking about, but that sucks.
And so the other side is saying, listen, if we fully understand, I get what you're saying. And like from a, from a humane standpoint, understand. But they're like, if we give up, if we go backwards, we pushed hard to get a year-round coyote season, I think a couple years ago. If we go backwards, which according to everything that I've seen, it's going to happen. They're going to reduce it by 3 months. Now we gave all of the antis the opportunity to say we can be pushed back.
Yeah. It's showing weakness.
And so
why would you do that? You have it now.
It's political pressure. Like there's a natural resource commission that stands in between like the legislature and like these groups, and those are the guys voting on this.
I don't understand how something like that even comes up. Like, shouldn't there have to first be an offensive move by anti-coyote hunters to say, here's the negative to having a year-long coyote season? Mm-hmm. And I'd love to know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's is it just because you want a breeding population? Like,
you have one.
Yeah,
trust me.
Yeah, it's interesting when and some of the debates made sense, some of them didn't. Like the APR one didn't make sense. Guys started getting into the fact where they're like, well, older bucks are more likely to have CWD and they're going to pass it around. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, no, you're not. Like, first of all, there's a lot fewer older bucks and like in the actual population anyways. And it's just, they're not, the cool thing was like it was a really respected open mic discussion. Like nobody attacked each other. There were some heated debates, but nobody attacked each other. Everybody kind of knew where everyone stood going into it. But like at the end of it, it's like, it's very group purpose driven, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a great example.
And from your standpoint, I'm sure frustrating to see, like, I don't understand. It's like there seems to be all of this, all of these people in favor of XYZ, and it doesn't happen. Well, and we feel the same way.
Well, and there's alliances, which is really what gets me a little bit. So, for instance, they carry a big contingency, and for good reason. I understand, especially in today's era, why a Michigan Bow Hunters Association wouldn't want APRs and doesn't want to see that change. Well, all the bear and houndsmen back the MBA during APRs. They throw all their weight behind it. Guess what? They don't give two shits about deer. They don't care about them at all.
Right.
But when a bear or a wolf issue comes up, guess who's backing them? MBA. Right? So it's an alliance that throws weight back and forth, even though these guys could give two, like they don't care if there's APRs or not. The fact that their alliance does is where they'll throw their weight, which is why I think you end up seeing like a 75-25 non in favor when that vote came through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens. You see that a lot. I don't know. The antler point restriction thing is interesting. It's like, I could go either way on it. Like, I don't love it.
It's got fundamental flaws for sure.
It does. Like, yeah, fundamental flaws. It's like I do think that high grades the population
eventually
to a degree.
Yep. Makes your best quality deer most vulnerable. I think that I never have thought that kids, disabled, active vets, seniors should have to abide by it. Like,
sure.
Just they don't need to, in my opinion.
Fine. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, fine.
I'm talking about the main guts of the public.
The general, the main,
yeah,
majority population of hunters. But, the other side of it is like, if the objective is to have an older age class of bucks, it's like there are other ways to do it too. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's a literal restriction of the deer that that you're shooting. Say, hey, it's this or it's that. The more of an origin approach, or like more of a what a grassroots would be, limitation of lethality. That's a lot of what we talk about. Our issues with corn piles or crossbow, liberal gun seasons. Anything that makes us more able to kill.
Yeah,
bucks.
Yeah.
Period. You can restrict those things, and they have a similar effect as the antler point restriction without the negative. The negative of those is people don't like them.
Yeah.
But they don't like the antler point restrictions at first either.
Well, and I'm not, again, dive even deeper, and the other glaring obvious one is like make it a 1 buck state. Like,
sure,
you recruit a lot more bucks, to the next year if you make it a 1 buck state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I'm sure the hunters of the state don't want that. Well, that's a big hurdle. Like, I
mean, how do you please? But I don't think you can. I think we've been in this long enough. We've talked about you can't please everybody in the spectrum of deer hunting. It's impossible.
Well, I guess what I was going to say is like it's really challenging for people to make their own sacrifice. Sometimes it's hard, I think, to see the benefit. Like I think just use corn piles as the example, just because we talked about it so much. Is like I think a lot of hunters would be against it. If we say, hey, do we want to get rid of baiting in Ohio or not? If you just polled hunters in Ohio, I bet a majority would say no. That's how we hunt.
Yeah, we want.
I mean, we have a whole generation of hunters that's the only way they know how to hunt. But at the same time, if you ask them, like, do you guys want bigger, older bucks? A majority of them would say, yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody who understands something about management, should come in and say, okay, well, listen, I know you guys aren't going to want to hear this, but if we get rid of these corn piles, more of these bucks will make it through from season to season. You will have, and so you will have the outcome. So which one do you want more? Do you want short-term corn piles, or do you want long-term better hunting experience? And, even leave out all the access stuff and stuff that I think that would provide. And that's where it seems like we struggle to get bills passed and things like that. Because people say, it's that's where you talk about originally. We're talking about your what's the word? restrictions, or you're putting more regulation on it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah. It's like,
I mean, the
it's
reality,
for a purpose.
The reality of people wanting to see bigger deer and kill bigger deer, and yeah, there are some people that are pure meat hunters and good for it, but like you shouldn't care if you kill a buck or a doe at that point if you're a pure meat.
It's the classic short-sightedness, dude. Of it's like, yeah, I really want to lose 50 pounds, but I don't want to give up what I'm eating. It's the exact same thing. It's like sacrifice for a better outcome.
The reality, though, I think for most deer hunters, and I put myself in this even in some cases, is that they judge a lot of the success or the quality of their deer hunting by what they see. Sure. And the reality is even in the state of Pennsylvania, there are people that will tell you that deer hunting is worse in the state of Pennsylvania now than it was 20 years ago when Gary Alt made those changes, because they don't see 100 deer a day, right? They see 10, they see 12 in a season. And they're like, I used to see 55 deer a day, now I see 12 in a season. Well,
and that's fine. That's subjective.
There's a lot of people that would tell you that makes your deer hunting shittier.
If somebody gets more enjoyment out of seeing more deer, then who am I to tell you that that's wrong? Ultimately, though, I'll defer to a biologist. Like, what's the healthiest form of a herd?
Sure.
And we know that includes a healthy age class and enough habitat for that herd.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where the political thing comes back in, because, in a lot of states, who's managing the majority of the habitat is not who's managing the wildlife, right? Like in the state of Pennsylvania, when you talk about state forest and national forest, that is not being managed by the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Game Commission's managing state game lands, but that's a fraction of the public land that's out there. So when those two don't align and they're not governed by the same body, it's a disconnect immediately. And you see that in a lot of states, and fortunately, I think the reason that several of these states have better quality deer herds is because they have more private land that is being managed at a higher intensity. And that's why the quality of the deer herd is better. If you think about Ohio doesn't have a ton of public land. It's got private land, and a lot of that private land is being managed for deer, and that's increasing the quality of the deer herd in the state of Ohio.
Yeah. Well, it's not rocket science. I mean, if you want to have the best age class, best, buck hunting experience. It's like, look at a state who's doing. There's a reason it takes 6 years to draw in Iowa. It's because they're doing some things right, or they've not allowed some things into their state that other states have. It's not that it has the best habitat in the country. It certainly doesn't. It's that. Other states have just done such a poor job of managing the resource from our perspective that it's like that's where we want to go. It's just like moving a business into Texas or Florida, because of the tax rates. So I'm going to go where it's favorable. The politics, yield a better result.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point.
And the good news is you can fix it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot easier to change. Well, in theory, it's a lot easier to change a policy or regulation than it is to create new habitat from scratch or build it.
Yeah, and the hard part, like even in this Michigan thing, is like that coyote thing. I think came out of that group to where they made a small amendment. They did a concession basically where there was a small portion of time around pup season that was not going to be included in the actual season, but everybody also knew that the votes weren't in favor of that amendment as it even stood today to pass. So meaning, before it even got there, before we could even really fight the good fight, the NRC, the Natural Resource Commission, already made the decision that they were going to wipe it out, which is what most of us have a big issue with, right? Yeah. Is the fact that you tell me I can come and raise my voice. The moment I get there, you're like, listen, dude, this has already been made.
It is interesting. Like to me, it seems like a fairly similar situation with Gary and the cub law, right? And so like at that time, it was just, whatever the season was, it was. But within the season, they said you couldn't shoot cubs.
Yeah.
And the issue was that guys were shooting cubs because they couldn't tell the difference. So, I mean, that makes me consider alternatives to like what they did here is like, man, so you have a year-round coyote season. They think the antis don't want pup shot. Why not just say, hey, don't shoot pups?
Well, I think it's because of the trapping and stuff too, and cable restraints. I mean, the reality is it's I look at coyotes no different than I look at pigs. If you take the thumb off of them, it explodes.
Wild hogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a nuisance. They're an invasive species.
Yeah. So I mean, and tying back to Kentucky,
they're cool. They're great animals. Like I love coyotes. I think they're super cool. I'm glad we have them, but they are a nuisance.
I don't think you'll ever kill them all.
There is no way. You cannot.
No, you'll never wipe them out. And my fear again on
the
Kentucky side.
Kilgo? Right?
Yeah, Kilgo.
We had John Kilgo on.
Yeah, it's a sponge effect.
Yeah,
kill them all and new ones move in.
There is no eradication of coyotes. It does not happen.
Yeah, and same with pigs. So like trying to manage those as a game species, right, or give any leniency to them is just going to cause more issues.
They're predators.
Yeah. They're predators.
And dude, wolves are the same way.
Yeah,
frankly. We're gonna treat them like a game species, and it's like no. It's the apex invasive species.
We were in a pretty heated. I don't have my notes with me, but it was a pretty heated discussion. I think the National Wildlife Federation was there and some other ones, but basically like they're trying to make this like gray wolf plan 2024 to 2028. And it's just like, you can just see guys like just banging their heads off of a wall. At one point in time, I forget what the actual numbers are, but basically they said they wanted X amount of wolves in the UP of Michigan. And it's like 10 factor of that right now. These guys like deer don't like, they're not seeing shit for deer, right? It's affecting the moose populations, which they're trying to have a moose hunt this year for the first time ever. Like all these things. And like, because wolves are, a listed species, right? They can't be touched there. Like they can't do anything. It's just to the point of like, say, oh, take your thumb off the coyote for 3 months and it's going to, the thumb has been off of wolves, right? It's a complete free reign for wolves to just continue to build their populations up. And so these large stakeholders that are feeling the effects of this is the only thing I think that agricultural and wildlife can agree upon is the fact that the effects on livestock and the effects of wildlife from wolves are negative. But you've got all of these, thinking wolves are cuddly, animals that we should do better. I mean, literally, I was reading comments that they had brought into this discussion from outside groups, and it was like, we can do so much better. There can be so many more wolves in Michigan if we only do the right thing. And it's like, who are these people? What do you mean there should be? Why would you have more wolves in Michigan? What's the point?
Yeah. I mean,
to what end? You think that they're just going to be in your backyard and you're going to just feed them bacon and stuff?
That is like, I don't understand that. It's a liberal mindset. It is. I don't understand like the introduction of, you could call it diversity. You could.
Yes.
Or for the sake of diversity.
For the sake of diversity.
Or in this case, wolves for the sake of wolves. It's like,
yeah,
it creates problems and there is no real benefit other than you think it should be done.
Well, the reality is that in many cases, species like deer and elk and things like that got overpopulated to where they affected the ecosystem. Completely get that. Historically,
say that again. Who
so
did?
Deer, elk,
where?
Everywhere, and most of the United States. They got to a population level that was affecting the ecosystem. Right? They were over browsing forests. They were wiping out plant communities.
To manage that with hunting?
To a point, right? That's why Pennsylvania really did the concurrent buck doe season, was to take deer numbers back because we were destroying our forest, right? To the end of the standpoint of introduction of predators, it's put in place there because in theory, it's like, well, if we introduce predators into this population, we also can reduce this. This is what happened in Yellowstone, right? Yellowstone, the elk were exploding in Yellowstone.
I don't understand. Why would you ever use an invasive species like
They're
wolves
not
or
invasive.
coyotes?
Wolves are not invasive. Wolves are native to the area. That's why. It's reintroducing a native species that essentially was extirpated from the area.
Why were they extirpated?
Through,
I don't know if that's the word, but
through basically commercial hunting.
Through commercial hunting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And fur trading.
Okay.
Yeah, wiped them out. So now they're bringing them back to try to, recreate what was a native ecosystem. But the reality is 100 years ago, the face of this planet and this country looked a hell of a lot different than it looks now.
Sure.
So when you reintroduce those to where we're already in a compacted area because of urban sprawl and development and solar fields and all this other shit, the reality is that now what is being put in balance, because we could hunt deer and elk at some points. We could hunt and trap predators. Now we can still hunt elk, we can still hunt deer in many of these places, but we can't touch the predator aspect of it.
Yeah, well, so there you go. Those are two things that have changed. It's like, yeah, the landscape is different, but if they can still, hold the two species together and there is hunting, like both species need to be managed by hunting.
Absolutely. The problem is now that these reintroductions have happened to the ecosystem, the antis are protecting the cute and cuddly wolves, so they can't be hunted, and now they're out of check, right? It'd be just like if I took wild hogs and I said, let me go put wild hogs in whatever, Iowa. Let's just see what happens. But you can't hunt them for a few years. Let's just see gone. Run wild. Exploded population.
Yeah.
Same thing. Put wolves there, so you can't hunt them, then they're out of whack.
Well, I mean, how is that not accounted for or discussed up front to say, like, okay, hey, if we're going to consider reintroducing this species back into, so how are we going to manage them?
That's this wolf management plan that has stakeholders that frankly don't belong in the discussion. It's city folks from California that have a lot of money.
Yeah, you say to the city folks of California, okay, hey, if we're going to introduce wolves, there's a high likelihood they're an apex predator.
They have the political connections.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, what's the answer to that question? Say, hey, how are we going to manage their population if they start affecting other game species?
There's no registration in their brain for that. What do you mean manage? Like, they just survive. They just live out in the wild.
Well, yeah, and they kill everything in its path.
They don't fathom anything.
It's fairly easy to bring up, though. Yeah, so what do you think?
They just don't ignore you. And they'll tell their political connections, like, I don't know what they're talking about. You've seen wolves, they're amazing. That's what happens. It's a reality.
Yeah.
And then it happens. Then the political decisions are made, and it's like you realize, but to the point we talked about Dan last week, first thing that happens is when there's a fucking cougar in your backyard about to rip your kid apart on the swing set, they're like, hey, guys.
And not a hot middle-aged lady.
Yeah. They're like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And it's like, well, you said that we can't kill these and remove them. They're all over the place. Like, sorry, we're dealing with one over here. Like, you're going to just have to wait. It doesn't ring a bell until the human-animal conflict happens. And at that point, it's too freaking late.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Muddy and Stealth Cam trail cameras.
Cell cams. What an evolution the industry has seen, and we've experienced personally over the past 5, 10, whenever cameras were invented, right? It's like, man, it's totally changed the way that we inventory deer, pattern deer, and ultimately the decisions that we make when we're going out to hunt. They're a serious piece of the puzzle, and that information is invaluable for us. We trust the Muddy and Stealth cams, together to be able to collect any of that information.
Yeah, I mean, as an admitted trail cam addict, I've definitely been guilty of underhunting places or relying too heavily on that information that's come in. That said, it's an invaluable tool to the overall management plan and strategy that I have for my own properties or even hunting public land. It doesn't matter. We have a finite amount of time in going out and hunting. So when you and I are after a particular class or quality of deer, usually a mature buck, we can't waste time hunting an area where that deer doesn't exist. And those cell cams provide that information that allow us to spend the time in the area with the highest chance to accomplish our goals.
Say it all the time, man. You can't kill them if they're not there.
That's it.
So right now, any of our listeners can use code HUNTR20 to get 20% off either Muddy or Stealth cameras. We're certainly going to be taking advantage of that, and we hope you guys do too.
Yep, check out Stealth Cam and Muddy.
I don't understand how we haven't learned by now that, like, when you give immunity to like a protected class of anything, like, it creates problems.
We're idiots, man. This country is made up of a bunch of idiots.
Sure seems that way.
Because they are making decisions on something that they have zero knowledge, zero even experience and interaction with.
They're not idiots, though. Like, dude, there's a lot of smart people out there. It's just, that's why it's so confusing to figure out how these systems are just not working. It's not working. Like, the voting system, like, however these policies are getting passed down, and like, frankly, it's a lot of it is the corruption. I mean, you follow the money. It's like, yeah, you see where all this kind of goes.
Sure.
It's not working.
No. And I mean, because of the way that system is, like, you could have the smartest people come and testify to the House of Representatives or whoever it is to say, listen, guys, understand that gray wolves were native to this area. Not saying that they shouldn't be on the landscape. However, if we leave them unmanaged, if we keep them on this, list that is basically protecting them from any type of hunting and trapping, The populations will get out of control. They will affect other wildlife populations. And eventually we're going to have human-animal conflicts from it. None of that makes sense to 90% of the people sitting in that room because they live in downtown DC and the only wildlife they see are redbirds and squirrels outside their room. It's so foreign to them. It'd be like if they said, well, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on Saudi Arabia's oil policy? I don't freaking know. I have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea. Like the only thing it affects me is like what's the cost for gas at the pump. That's the end result for what I'm looking at.
Right.
So I'm not qualified to make that decision. I'm not even qualified to talk about that decision making. Yet these people have to be qualified to talk about all of it and vote and make decisions on all of it. That's a flawed system. Right? Yeah, you have committees. Like here's your committee for, whatever, wildlife. Here's your, sportsman's congressional committee for this. Like, but in the reality, like you've got whatever 10 people that have to change the minds of 300. It's not going to happen. It never will. They'll call somebody and say, hey guys, like, I got to vote on this wolf policy. What do you think? They're like, what's it saying? They're going to kill the wolves? Well, I think they're going to kill some of them. I never even have seen a wolf. There's no way they should be killing them. End. That's it.
I don't know. It's hard.
Which is why I think we have to go on the offensive. We talked about that with Dan. It's like, dude, we are constantly on our heels in a defensive manner for all of these things, right? From the APRs to the wolves to the coyotes to, hell, even protecting our own fish and wildlife rights and hunting rights in some cases. We're always on our heels. Like, when are we going to go on the offense here? When are we going to take it to them and, not insurrection type, but storm their capital and be like, listen, this is bullshit. Like, you've got 1 million people here that are telling you that you're screwing this up. You're ruining everything because you live here. You don't even see it. You want to experience it? Cool. Let's go to the UP of Michigan, and we'll go camp in the backcountry for 7 days and tell me that you're not afraid of the wolves around you.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see, like, state agencies stand up for themselves, like, protect the resource.
So fearful of getting their heads chopped off. It's ridiculous.
Well, I know, and I guess I can't blame them because, like, when you get to the root of it, you see that it's like, oh yeah, they'll just replace you.
Yeah, it's your livelihood. You'll get your head chopped off. They'll put somebody in your shoes the next day. Yeah, I mean it's
literally like, and a guy that knows nothing about it. I mean, dude, not to we talked with Mike Rex, and so like they have a wildlife council, right?
Yep.
And he's the
head
sportsman.
of it. He's the chairman.
Well, he's a sportsman through and through, a hunter, and he's a lot of things the way that we do, and he's like. He's replaceable. Like, if he was to push too hard for something that he believes in, the governor will just say, okay, cool, we'll put somebody else there.
He'd be out.
So how does that work?
Well, I mean, I think that
just puts you, it's like, so play nice or, or else.
Well, I think that's where there's, like the Ohio group and what Skip's doing, like these individual type groups are critical.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Yeah, they're only people that aren't muzzled.
Yeah, you're going to yell at me? Cool. Let me yell louder back. Frankly, individuals like us and other people like us should use our platforms like we're doing here. And or like, I went to several of those events. It was cool to be part of them. And, I don't maybe have a say necessarily, but I'll sure voice my opinion. I'll talk to people. I'll network. I'll figure out what's going on. I'd love to go in. I mean, we've talked about it with Matt Moret and Brian Burns. They're like, hey, if we have an issue that like really needs force, and you guys are in favor of it, would you get behind it? Damn straight, man. Put us at the tip of the spear. Like, who do I got to worry about? Nobody.
Right.
So like there are people that can do that. We're just not organized enough.
Yeah.
It's just not organized enough, and I know that Sportsman's Alliance was the one who brought attention to the Kentucky Department of Ag issue there. So they're an awesome group for that. I know that they work hard. Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation does a lot for that. Obviously in Michigan, it's MUCC. But like I still just don't feel like it's efficient enough. Like, no knock to like the Sportsman's Alliance, but man, unless it's something that's really relevant like that comes across my desk and I make a reaction to it, I don't see stuff from them ever.
Well, and how could you? Dude, life's busy. There's so much noise. I mean, it's
saturated.
Frankly, the reason that it seems like politics has gotten to the point that it is like we've all been so busy just like living our lives.
Well, we've
providing for our families and like
we've got mainstream issues as well. Like this is our wheelhouse. This is our passion. We're talking about with the wildlife and hunting and all this. But in reality, man, mainstream life is messed up. Like it is a natural disaster out there where you're talking about taxes and politics and increasing wages and increasing inflation or whatever it is. Like there's a mess out there that is being dealt with on an everyday lifestyle.
Frankly, that's the problem with big government. It's like, when it gets out of control or it's manipulated by, people with ill intention or their own, best interest in mind, right? Not the general public, then it's able to have a significant impact. And like, so here you are, it's like every facet of your life seems to be controlled by government, and the government is obviously corrupt. Mm-hmm. And so we're screwed.
Yeah.
Well,
it comes back to like, what was it? 160 million votes in the election in 2020. And it's like, there's no way. Like these two.
I want to know. Yeah. It's like,
these two guys did not motivate 160 million Americans to go to the box to show them your ID.
Presidential election.
Yeah, to show an ID and actually cast the vote. It didn't happen.
There's no way.
Did they go out and recruit and do mail-in ballot? 100%. Sure. Which is why the voting system seems completely flawed. I mean, dude, you want to talk about like scary, like, not of like push a red damn button yet, but we get to this 2024 election. And we see similar things or even crazier things that happen in this country will burn. It'll light up.
What happens?
If we see similar things to what happened in 2020, like unprecedented voting. There's already people that are saying who hate Trump with a passion, who are saying they won't vote for Biden because of how he's handling the Israel and Gaza situation. So how can you have more people vote than you had in 2020, which is what it will take if the blue is going to beat the red.
Yeah, and it's like right now, it's like there couldn't be a more blatant attempt to gain voters than by like the border crisis and stuff. And so it's like when that does happen, and frankly, I expect it to. Who knows? I mean, I don't.
You're right. I do too. Unfortunately.
What?
I expect
a Democratic candidate to live. I don't think, or to win. I don't think it'll be Biden. I think they'll replace him with.
No, they're not. He's too far along.
I think they'll replace him with
Michelle.
I do. I think they'll swap him out somehow.
It's a bit of bait and switch.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game. I think they'll swap him out, and I think she'll win, and that in and of itself will be enough of a distraction that this whole time, Biden's been actively accruing, via the border crisis, a voting population. And so it's like you can see right now what's happening and how it's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, there's discussion around stopping it, but I mean, it'll be too late. It'll be too late.
I don't know how much the country can tolerate.
Well, and you see, dude, politically, I guess I don't want to don't quote me on it because I haven't fact checked it for myself, but you see things like
CNN fact checks.
Did you see Black Rifle Coffee is on?
Oh yeah,
you can see for making donations to.
Yeah.
And it's black and white. Why, if they did do that, why they did it? It's because that sells guns, right? It promotes their.
Yep, it's their brand.
Something that's going to grow their brand and stuff.
Yeah, we talk about. I mean, I do marketing all the time, and I lectured people at it at SHOT Show. It's like, hey guys, just so you don't take your eye off the ball. Like, if Trump wins, your business is going to suffer dramatically. You guys know that.
Yeah. Because
it doesn't sell guns. If Biden wins, gun sales will go up again.
And I'm sure they're not the only ones. I bet you any gun companies, any ammo companies, they're all pushing for democratic policies and lawmakers and stuff.
Tell you what, though, that was a backbreaker there for them.
For them?
Mm-hmm.
Should be. It's the wrong thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it purely becomes a money game at that point. It's not about what's right and what's better for the country, what's better for our troops. It's purely a money game that...
ugly.
And I mean, but that is the reality of it. I mean, it's no different than the crossbow lobby. It's like, even if we didn't have a beef with crossbows to say it's right or wrong, the only reason that the crossbow lobbyists are pushing this in the legislature is money. It's not because, it's going to give more opportunity for use.
They don't care about archers. They're making money.
Yeah. We literally found out that they were basically spending $100,000 a year for like 3 or 4 years in the state of New York, I think it was. And then it got passed. Well, that first year, they made 10 times that back.
Yeah. Yes. It's a bit to make money.
Investment. Boom. Investment pays off. So it's not because they're like, oh, well, it'll give more opportunity for kids or for seniors or for just no. They don't care about any of that. They care about money. That's what drives it.
100%.
It's crazy. I mean, when you start to look at that process, and I don't know, like at some point things have to change, or again, these the organizations that are driving a lot of these factors will always have the power, will always have the decision-making opportunity. Until, so we talk about, if we talk about like going on the offense, and I don't know, spitballing here, right? We know what's going on in Ohio and Iowa, trying to get people, Michigan's doing the same. Like the reality is there's 15 million hunters in the country. We are not all part of anything at all right now, right? Some people are part of NWTF, some people are part of DU, some people are part of NRA. Like nobody is all part of anything. That's a miss, giant miss in my book. Like the moment you buy a license or whatever, you should have X dollars of that go to an organization that represent hunters nationwide, right through the gate. That is our offensive move.
Well, you think you are. Like, when you buy a license, you're like, it goes to the DNR, and the DNR is supposed to represent. That's what you think. That's what people think.
And they do not. No.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Muddy.
Man, Jared, we probably have been using Muddy products for at least 10 years now.
It's a long time, dude.
It's been a long time. And I can remember when it was simply just safety harnesses and camera arms of all things. And, that's evolved to where you and I both have a bunch of Muddy box blinds as well.
I would say a bunch. But yeah, they've come a long way. And certainly the box blinds are huge. Shot that buck over your shoulder out of a Muddy box blind a couple of years ago. The harness and all of the other safety accessories really are a major component of what Muddy offers for me. We've had some injuries in the past. I've had some tree stand accidents. This is all back before we were using, frankly, harnesses, the lineman's belt while we're hanging stuff, and the safe lines. I have those in every single one of, our fixed tree stands now. And we really have made safety a priority. That's a big deal for us. And, Muddy has everything we need for that.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about Muddy is anyone listening to the HUNTR Podcast can save 20% using the code HUNTR20. That's HUNTR20. Anything that you can see on the Muddy Outdoors store online, use that code, save yourself 20% for this hunting season.
Go Muddy.
Yeah, so, I guess what I was saying there is like most DNRs or game commissions
right?
have a, or I don't know if all of them have a lobbyist, but, a lobbyist, I guess, to say that. They're called to testify all the time, right? That's the ability for whether it's a commissioner or a biologist or the executive director to testify, but they're not a lobbyist group that's going head to head with the legislature. It's not happening. You're right. I think a lot of people think like, well, they're making the laws, they should do this. No different than the Sunday hunting thing, right? Pennsylvania Game Commission couldn't make a decision on that because it was a law, right? It had to come down from the legislature.
Just like the crossbows too.
The ag division of things was using their lobbyists to block that every time, right? The ag division did not want Sunday hunting to happen in Pennsylvania. It wasn't until just a couple months ago.
Who didn't want it?
The ags.
Why?
Yep.
Why wouldn't they want it?
Farmers didn't want it. They didn't want you hunting their property on a Sunday.
Okay.
So it came down to that was the constant block all the time.
That's not what I would expect.
All the time. The ag lobbyists said they're stepping out of the way for it to come through. That happened like 2 months ago. So, it was constantly a block on that side. And we had lobbyists from Pennsylvania, but it wasn't from the Game Commission, right? It was from other private groups that were coming in to do that lobbying. So, yeah, when you look at it from a hunting community standpoint, it's like, man, who is out there to speak for your rights? Like you have Sportsmen's Alliance, you have Congressional Sportsman Foundation, you have several groups out there. In certain states, you've got things like the Iowa Sportsman Club, you've got the Michigan United Conservation Clubs, like those.
Hunters Advocate of Ohio is the new one.
Yep,
there.
Hunters Advocate of Ohio. So you've got some groups that are forming, and
out of necessity. All of which who probably previously thought like
somebody was
doing this for us.
Doesn't exist. Yeah, and so I mean that's where it comes back to. It's like, man, for as a whole of whatever 14, 15 million, we should have a singular group that is out there just on the offense, just beating the shit out of any of these issues that pop up. If it pops up in Colorado, we're there. If it pops up in Ohio, we're there. And we don't have that. And, you're not going to be able to go around and say, hey guys, with like a collection plate at church, hey guys, like give us all $5. They're not going to do it. You have to have it built in to the licensing system out of the gate to that's where it goes. That's the only way that you're going to be able to get this done on a mass level to say, I represent, hey, so-and-so in DC, right? Ted Cruz in DC. I represent 15 million hunters in this country.
Well,
15 million voters. You can't do this shit.
I agree with you. It should be a part of the license fee. What else are you paying for?
You're paying for game management.
Which is, it's one and the same.
At a state level, because unless you're talking about things like waterfowl, right, or something on a like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Endangered Species list, the reality is everything is managed by the state. The deer of Ohio are managed by the state of Ohio. The turkey of Pennsylvania are managed by the Pennsylvania Game Commission. And they should be. So that's where your dollars are going, right? Yeah. They're not going to anything bigger from a political threat, from an anti-threat, from a issues standpoint. Yeah, well, I agree. In that sense, it's like, man, there should be, whether it's an increased cost or some sort of like allocation of the funds that are brought in by states that go into a national pool, because it seems like we are getting attacked at a national level. And I know people are going to bitch about this because I'm like, this is more taxes, and I'm not paying any more taxes, and da da da. I don't care. I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's like shit costs money. Shit costs money, and the resources is getting attacked. And it's like, if you want to protect it, like you gotta. If you want to be able to hunt, you want to have gun rights. You want that's why the NRA exists. Like that's how that stuff exists and push through. I mean, the NRA is the most aggregated group that we have out there defending Second Amendment rights. It's the reality of it. Is it perfect? No. But that's the reality of it. They have the most members. They have the most say. They have the most political pull. They have the most money in lobbyists out there. It's no different than this. And even if you had it at a national level, like let's say hypothetically you collected $5 from every hunter. $5, right? So you'd have, in a given year, you'd have $75 million thereabouts just from license fees to this group. Okay? Now, what if I took, of your $5, right? What if I took $2.50 of it and I gave it to, the group in your state, right? Whether that's the Hunter Advocacy of Ohio, whether that's the MUCC in Michigan, whatever it is. Gave half of that money to there, okay? So in the state of Ohio, just for simplicity's sake, I think you have 400,000 hunters there, right? So you're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. Being taken immediately and given to Hunter Advocacy of Ohio. That's exactly $1 million. Nice job. Thank you. Yep. That's pretty good. Given to Hunter Advocacy of Ohio. Mm-hmm. So now they have $1 million from us nationally because you were an Ohio license holder that is going to defend and fight issues and go on the offense in the state of Ohio. Well, and see where it's tough is like we as hunters are divided. Like we all want different things. So it's like those funds we're only going to agree to give them if it's something 100% people can agree on. See, that's the only way you get that amount of money. That's where I don't think that it's an agree to give them. It's built in. It's an automatic. You know. I mean, listen, there are plenty of people, we've heard it on here. There's a pile of people who aren't buying a hunting license anyways. Those guys don't give two shits. Mm-hmm. They're not buying a license. They don't care if they get caught. If they get caught, they get a slap on the wrist. They go hunt tomorrow. Well, and Ohio is unique in that the residents landowners anymore. They don't have to buy licenses or their kids. Yep. So I think it's just built in. Hey, license fees are going up $5 in the state of Ohio. Okay. Great. Well, fine, but then it's like taxes, So it's like, I know. Okay, what are you spending it on? I know. Then there's discussion around like, well, hey, I don't want antler points. You're telling me my $5 is going towards antler point restrictions or whatever? And so that's where somebody... It's kind of a vicious cycle, and I agree. You need money. Somebody has to make the decision for the rest of the people. Well, and it should be on behalf of the resource, frankly. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't know how you... Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm not saying, get around that. So even that, like, let's say you gave $1 million to Hunter Advocacy of Ohio. The fact is like, okay, here comes an issue. I can now pull every hunter in the state of Ohio and say, guys, here's the issue. Are you in favor or not? And this is what Michigan United Conservation Club does. Well, and even with that, there's,
room for, so you say hunters in the state of Ohio?
Yeah, because we would have collected money from everybody who bought a license.
Okay, so that's residents and non-residents.
Who bought a license. If you didn't buy a license, you don't have a voice. Tough shit.
Okay.
Right?
Well, no. See, not right, but I'm not okay with that. Like,
you didn't buy a license. You didn't contribute to the pot.
Well, but that's not their fault. Like, they don't have to.
Yeah, but you could.
Yeah, but they don't have to. So
why
would you?
So they don't have a say in how the wildlife's managed. They don't have a say where that money goes because it's not their money.
It's their land in a lot of cases. It's their. I mean, that's where I'm saying. Like when
it's
you start
not their public resource.
What do you mean?
I mean, they're just because they own land doesn't mean anything around a public resource of deer and how that money's spent. They didn't contribute.
Well, right, but that's not their fault. They don't have to. That's the way it's set up.
Sure, but you also can't then bitch in how it's managed.
Well, yeah, you can.
Why?
Yeah, because that's how it's set up. They had no part in saying I don't have to pay for a license.
But they could buy one.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping them from buying one.
Well, right, but this process we're talking about, how funds are allocated, is not currently in place.
Sure, but like now, to be honest,
I agree
think that's a big fit.
For me to agree with you, we would have to say, okay, hey, we're going to be taking a portion of these license fees and putting it towards this thing. Mm-hmm. You can choose to or not. Mm-hmm. And then if you don't, fine.
Well, no. See, I would make it an automatic on the license. Anybody that buys a license,
they should be paying a license fee. Period. Yeah. Like, that's dumb.
I mean, that becomes, to me, a huge issue.
Level the playing field. I hate the fact that like non-hunters have, in a lot of cases, the biggest interest in the hunting resources in other people's states. Yeah. And they're also the biggest contributors of monies. And I just don't think that that's fair to the residents.
No, it's not. Well, it's also not fair that most of the non-hunting community in the state enjoys wildlife and doesn't pay shit for it.
The baiting is a great example, dude. I believe wholeheartedly that the residents and landowners of the states that have those don't want it.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, I don't know.
They don't want it because it's affecting their property, right? Mm-hmm. And the resource that they feel that they're entitled to, and they are. Mm-hmm. And it's because non-residents pay more license fees and therefore have more pull over those issues.
Yeah, and I mean, the big issue in like a state like Ohio where they don't have to buy anything is like, listen, money is the speaker of all these things we're talking about. If you don't buy a license, because you don't have to, you have no voice. You have no voice about what happens with the wildlife.
Yeah, but guess what? You bought a piece of property which you thought entitled you to, the public resource that's available.
It does.
It does. And now we're at a point where, well, yeah, but we've exploited the resource so far and accepted monies from so many outside sources that now, you know what, you need to actually pay for your own license and do this too. And that's the point that we're at.
Because your voice isn't heard anyways. When they do these pulls and stuff, you're not in the cycle because they have no contact information for you. You're not in the license system. So all they're doing is sending everybody that bought a license in the state of Ohio out a survey that says, are you in favor of baiting or not? If you didn't buy a license, you don't get the vote. You don't have a say. You're not heard. Mm-hmm. That's the issue at hand. So and I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong either in that it takes money to do all that and you're not contributing any money to the pot. You bought land and you pay, property taxes. That's great. Those people don't see shit for that. Wildlife doesn't see anything for that. That all goes to your county government, your sheriff's office, and EMS and everything else.
They would districts. Too, though. That's why I have a problem with.
Would they?
Not giving them yeah.
Then why don't they? It's a volunteer.
What do you mean?
Just buy one then.
Well, because as it stands, like it doesn't do anything for them.
Give them a voice.
Does it?
Yeah, you'd be in the survey. You'd be able to say this.
Yeah, but the surveys are ignored and voted against anyways. So why would you do that?
I don't know. I don't think that they are. I think that's the problem. That's what we're trying to set up here. Is something that's going to give you a voice, but if you choose not to participate in it, you're out. You don't count.
Yeah, but I don't
care if you own 10,000 acres.
I don't blame them either, though, because the voice is clearly being disregarded anyways.
See,
look in Michigan. That's exactly what just happened.
Because other groups are more organized. Yep. You're not buying a license, so you're not helping towards the organization of a group.
It's different. It's not organization of a group. It's dollars in a fund.
it is, but it's also not like, so when those lobbyists go to talk to non-hunting legislatures to bitch about something,
for purpose.
You're not in the number. The reason that the non-residents are so overwhelmingly funding your state is because all your landowners aren't buying a license. They don't have to.
Sure.
But if they did, they would be a lot more representative of the dollar being brought in by the hunting population.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I think it's a great thing that the DNR lets them hunt without a license. Sure. Like that, to be honest, that's overly generous because it's a public resource. Right? You can do whatever you want on your land. You can dig a hole, you can pour cement, I don't care what you do, right? Cut a tree. But the moment it becomes a public resource, the fact that you're able to harvest a public resource without paying to do that is, most states won't let you do that.
Well, yeah. And the problem becomes when it's like, for a long time, it's like, well, the only people that hunt here are residents. And so, it's free. And so, but
but how do you fund the system then? Somebody has to manage the public resource. And if everybody just hunts for free, there's no money.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, that's when the resource goes
I agree
in the
with that.
shitter real fast.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think residents should pay for licenses in their state. Absolutely. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And I think that there should be, I'm not saying that you're never, this is just politics and this is how the world works. Whether we like it or not, there should be money in a pot that is fighting for something.
What is the reason? Why do they charge non-residents more than they charge residents? What's the reason for that?
I mean, they want the benefit to residents. They want residents to have the ability to enjoy the public resource in the state. Okay. They don't care about a non-resident enjoying it, besides economically.
Okay, so how does that motive turn into, we're going to charge this group of people this much or nothing, and we're going to charge this group this way more, way more?
Yeah, because why?
I mean,
it's not the state is the one that owns and manages the public resource. When you come from another state, you have no right to that public resource necessarily.
Okay.
Like me as a Pennsylvania resident have zero right to a whitetail deer in the state of Ohio because it's managed by and it belongs to the people of Ohio.
I think that's an issue. I think
that's how it's always been.
Well, it's clearly not working because what happens is, it's fine that you give that option and maybe...
Essentially, I'm paying for a higher for the right to have access to that resource.
Yep. And so inevitably what ends up happening when we get down to it is like, initially, hey, we wanted the resident to have more benefit, but the non-residents are paying us a lot more money.
A lot more.
Let's give them more power.
That's what happened in Kansas.
That's what's happening in Ohio. Same thing. That's why when I'm saying a lot, I think I really firmly believe that most Ohio resident landowner hunters do not want hunting in the state. A majority, for sure.
Baiting.
Yeah, baiting. Forgive me. The non-residents overwhelmingly do, right? Because that's how it improves their experience in the short term.
Yep.
Follow money.
Yeah, and the fact that the Ohio residents,
that's the fix right there. Ohio residents would, and I know Mike disagrees with me on this. We've kind of thought about it, but
and you can't pull. This is the problem. You can't pull those people. We don't know what those people say because they don't buy a license. They're not in the system.
I'm sure there's still a way to poll them.
You're not going to know, man.
What do you mean? Yeah.
It's easy from a resource standpoint for me to send 400,000 emails out to the people who bought a license. How the hell do I reach the people that didn't buy a license and also know they're a landowner and they're a hunter? They're not going to take the time. They're not going to take the time to figure it out.
Collective of an email list.
If you were in that pot, that's why I'm saying like all these guys are doing, and this is what politics will do, is they're taking the data for how it is, and that's what they're running with. Because those people aren't in the data, doesn't matter.
Sure.
It's irrelevant. If they were in the data set, maybe it would be 60% of hunting license in Ohio, our fees are coming from residents, 40% from non-residents. Well, shit, man, that switches things a lot if that happens. But because of the way that it's set up, those guys just are never included. They're never in the data.
Seems like an easy fix. I mean, why not just say, hey, residents, it's $5 for a license?
Because Mike Rex will tell you they'll lose hunters.
No, you won't. People might not buy them.
He'll tell you you'll lose hunters if you force it on them.
Yeah, I know what he'll tell you, but guess what? You're losing hunters anyways. So riddle me that.
I know. But you need to have those people in. Like, do they have to do like a free permit online or something?
I don't know.
I'm sure they don't, if they, or the majority of them don't.
I don't think there is any process. I think you're able to hunt. You still have to abide by the season dates and bag limits, right? But no, I don't think there is no license. There's no check.
Because I know one of the states for the kids, like, I don't pay anything, but I can just go in and like check them in for like a mentored license, but it doesn't cost anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still in there, right? So they still are counted in the group.
Well, and who knows? This is what happens when you and I just sit in conspiracy spiral. Like, there's nobody here to fact check us or tell us, what's right or wrong. So I mean,
well, somebody will. This is the whole point of the podcast. Somebody will jump in and say, "Hey guys, that's right. You're off on this. Here, perfect. Like, tell us that." It's just, yeah. I mean, the reality is we're getting to a point in our lives that our vote and our voice seems pointless. Because of the way that politics are driven, because of the way, voting is done, because of the misinformation that's spread online, like, there are plenty of people out there who will never vote again simply because they're like, why? For what reason?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's reaching a point of like, it's just not believable. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I mean, what more clear of a case do you need than Biden getting to elected to it's like even Democrats are probably like, that's amazing. How did this freaking guy pull up that many votes? It's like, dude, look, even here locally, like in Pennsylvania, it's like the fact that we elected John Fetterman, like a guy that's like, it's a laughable. Like every other state's looking at us, they're like, what are you guys doing?
What are you doing?
I'm like, we don't know. Like we didn't vote for him.
Like, how's that even possible?
How does stuff like that happen? It's like, as that continues to happen, it's like, yeah, it leaves you in a state of like, what do we do here? Like, am I voting wrong? Well,
and take that to a more helpless level. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the wildlife and hunting side is there is no vote, right? It is happening at a legislature of which the only thing you can do is pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, please don't do that. There's no casting of votes. It doesn't come to us and say, hey guys, here's the bill. Everybody vote on it. No, that doesn't happen. It happens at a closed door legislator level, right, that we have no vote in. All we did was try to get our representative to make their vote in favor of our vote. That's the big issue there, right? There's nothing we can do, unfortunately, about the presidential elections and the election of the U.S. senators and stuff. Like, we casted a vote or you didn't cast a vote. That's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. But in these closed-door sessions where these big deals are being made, I mean, hell, the federal government's about to vote on a multi-trillion-dollar government spending package. Did you have a vote in that? No, didn't happen because it's at a closed door behind the people who were elected to make those votes. I think that becomes the bigger issue where I'm not saying that we should be able to vote on every single issue, but when it comes to a lot of these bigger issues that are affecting especially a public resource, why not put it on the ballot, right? That's what happened in Colorado, right? They put the wolf initiative on the ballot, came to the ballot, right? So why can't we have things like, things that are related to our natural resources? Should Ohio resident landowners have to buy a tag? Well, guess who's voting on that? Not non-residents, the residents of Ohio.
Well, boy, it's just so messy too when you get into like what's allowed from an advertising standpoint, especially it's like, even if you put something on the ballot, it's like, okay, then you're going to have your special interest groups. A lot of them,
absolutely.
The Black Rifle Coffee thing's a perfect example of like somebody you'd expect, ethically, or like, well, should be on the side of like what we believe here, the promoter for veterans. It's like, no, follow the money.
Yeah. But at least at that point, you have a chance to vote. You cast a vote. Like, I mean, to me, the Ohio landowner licensing is an easy thing. Maybe 80% of them are like, no, I don't want to buy for it. Okay, great. Then don't, right? Same with baiting. Put it on a freaking ballot to where the non-residents can't vote on it.
Well, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have a say either. Frankly, I don't know exactly how I feel about it.
I don't think they should. They're non-residents. By definition, that resource is managed and owned by the state.
It's a public resource, though, and it is available to people outside of the state
because you pay for access.
For access to it.
But
and I agree. If we reach a point where it's like it's so limited that it should be reserved for the residents of the state.
I mean, obviously, I own land and put a shitload of money into the public resource of Ohio, which by definition I have no stake in.
Yeah, I'm not a resident of Ohio. Yeah. I'm a resident of Pennsylvania.
So I'm saying that as a guy who would be basically have no say in what happens to the resource of which I put a lot of money into. But like that's the reality of how these guidelines and laws were laid out, right? But it's also why like a migratory animal, right, like a duck, we have no say. It's at the federal level. State level is non-existent.
Right. Yeah. And it should be that way.
Should be that way. But and also we know that it's not as clear cut. Like, trust me, there are deer from Ohio that come across into Pennsylvania. They cross that state road line. They do it. Then they jump back real quick. Put a hoof in and out.
Not touching you.
I didn't die. Yeah. But that's just how it's laid out, you know? And I just think that the more that we keep shifting politically in this environment, the more, and I mean, dude, how simple could it be, especially from like a hunting side? Like if you buy a hunting license for Ohio or Pennsylvania or Kentucky, you're in an online system, right? You log into that online system. They say, hey, Jeremy, you have 7 days to vote on baiting in Kentucky. I log into my account. I cast my vote. One vote. Nobody else can do it. Like I did it in my system. It's done. It's recorded. That's it. Seems pretty easy.
Yeah. For guys like you and I, yeah. I mean, that's because I feel the same way about voting in general politics. Is like I can do everything else on my phone. I can bank. I can do all of these, things that are protected, the security stuff. Why can't I vote? But I know that there's a demographic of people, older people.
Okay, make me go to a licensed agent wherever I buy my hunting license. Then
sure, have options.
Yeah, I agree. It's an account. You have a unique ID number that's tied in, and you vote. Like it's not that freaking hard to do. And frankly, I think that we should have more of a voice in that stuff. The fact that there are commissioners and there's legislatures making the decision for me, when in some cases I feel like I know better than they do, that's disturbing.
Sure. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Sever.
Well, one of the biggest things that we always talk about is what our arrow setups are. And this year we're shooting the Sever broadheads. I think we're both shooting the new 2-inch titanium broadhead. And so, we're huge proponents of expandables. And I know we've had this argument back and forth with people, but we're
right and you're wrong, and you just need to accept it.
We just want to have a giant wound that pumps out blood. That's the bottom line.
We build our arrow setups and shoot bows, to maximize penetration, and we shoot broadheads that are going to give us the best blood trails, the most hemorrhage possible. And so part of those setups is we're also shooting the Easton arrows here coming up pretty soon. So we've shot the Victory in the past, and there's all kind of great arrow shafts on the market, but like we're looking for a whole system from broadhead to arrow components to the arrow shaft itself. And, the more we look at some of these Easton shafts and the components that go with them, that setup's going to be really deadly for us.
Yeah, I'm actually using the Easton traditional axis right now in my traditional setups for both my recurve and my longbow. I've got a 100-grain brass insert on those, and then obviously I'm using a fixed blade broadhead on those specific shafts.
Right on.
So, but yeah, our goal is always to be shooting the best broadhead that we think is going to be the most lethal for our setups. We've done plenty of research. We believe in the Sever broadheads, and we hope you would check them out at Sever Broadheads as well.
It's tough, man. Like there's so many different stakeholders.
And I get it. This is democracy. If anybody's going to lecture us here,
well,
I get it.
In the same way, you could put it to stick on Ohio. You could put the residents of Ohio. Like I can guarantee a majority. Well, I don't know. It'd be interesting. A majority of, if you ask them, like majority of resident landowner hunters in Ohio, if they should allow any outside residents, like how that would fall. Because like most of the hunters are going to say, nope, we want it all to ourselves.
I agree.
And that may be a short-sighted response, because a lot of landowners are going to lose a lot of money from, leasing, frankly, is what it is. And the state's going to lose a lot of money from
non-resident
license income.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you have to very carefully consider who your stakeholders are. And I mean, I give lawmakers and the DNR stuff credit to where it's like, man, you can't make everybody happy. So like, what are your priorities? Like, it should be to protect the resource.
Yeah. And the reality is money is what is making the decisions. It's people who have money who can hire lobbyists to fight the fight in the closed door sections, right? The general public who really is being affected by the outcome has no say, doesn't have the money to organize it. That's why I get what you said in terms of like, well, if you're going to take my money, where does it go? I'm 100% there as well. The reality is that there has to be some sort of group that can aggregate to then go in and have a strong fight for, the voice. And to be honest, that Michigan United Conservation Club does it really well in that, take antler restrictions, for example. The proposal or the resolution that was up was to pass antler restrictions, to say, hey, we're in favor of them. We're going to go lobby for them, okay? It failed. That doesn't mean that MUCC is now going to go lobbying and say we're against antler restrictions. All it means is that failed, so we're neutral. We have no position. We're not going to lobby for it either direction. That's not a bad way to go with it, right? So if you put out an Ohio or a Kentucky law that said, hey, this is a law to ban baiting. If it fails, that doesn't mean that we're in favor of baiting. It just means that we're neutral. We're not going to lobby to actually go and try to get rid of baiting.
Right.
It's not a like, if it goes one way, then this is how we lobby. If it goes this way, this is how we lobby. It's just, here it is, bill failed, it's dead, right?
Null and void until next year. I mean, that's what.
Yep, till something else gets put up.
They get shut down.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Next year.
Yeah, and so I think that kind of voice, even if it wasn't just a pure voting situation. I mean, hell, just if they put it out every time to like literally then present to the public, hey guys, we put this stat out here on should we have year-round coyote hunting in Michigan? 92% of you guys, which is 280,000 people, said yeah, we should. That's a pretty hard one then for the politicians to say, you know what, then disagree with those 280,000 people. Mm-hmm. Well, you look like an asshole at that point.
Yeah, and again, it's tough, knowing who to include in the vote and not. Because you put that to like the general public who, no offense, for the most part is not going to understand.
I wouldn't. I would put it to the license holders because they're the ones who have bought into it. They're the ones paying for conservation.
Yeah.
That's the big thing is like if the non-hunting public, these especially these wolf huggers, if they want to have a voice in conservation, you better buy a hunting license because that's what's funding this shit. It's not private interest groups. Like Colorado introducing wolves, that's the Colorado Parks and Wildlife that are introducing wolves. That is conservation money coming from the majority hunters' dollars.
Well, that's what's fighting it. But I mean, look what all that it took for those to happen is for the governor to say so. Right. And his husband, like when we talked to Dan on the last one, he's like, yeah, the governor's husband, they wanted wolves there. And so they
use hunters' dollars to do it.
They put them in there.
That's where the problem is shouldn't we as hunters be able to say, cool, go ahead and do it, but you're not using my dollars to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go fund your own thing.
Well, and it's not up to us individually as hunters. I mean, that's
not individually, but as an aggregate, it could be. That's where we're so weak.
The money is being collected there, and like who allowed for it to be taken and put towards that? That's
that's the basis of tax.
If there's
taxation,
a fireable
right?
offense, there it is.
I mean, taxation is I get taxed for property taxes. Okay, it goes to the fire department, it goes to the sheriff, it goes to the school district, whatever. Like those are the general pots that it goes to. If I take my license dollars, like where's it go to? What are those things doing? Cool, it's paying biologist salaries. I'm good with that. Right? What else is it going towards?
I have no idea.
It's buying game lands and public access. Great. I'm okay with that. Is it going to lobbying? No, none of it is. That's a problem. Because that's, we talk about access as our threat. The legislature is where there's a threat. That's where the main attacks are coming from. Not on like we can't hunt because we don't have access, on like straight how the resource is going to be managed or how our hunting rights are going to be looked at. I mean, Dan really thinks that you won't be able to hunt in Colorado in 10 years. It'll be shut down because of the liberals, which is mind-blowing. Like, will people still hunt? Yeah. Good. I mean, that's where civil war breaks out because good luck.
Right.
Like the people of the mountains who hunt and survive and live off that stuff, I mean, take it to them, but it ain't going to get pretty.
Sure.
But I think that we see it in a state like Pennsylvania. I would say Pennsylvania is like, I mean, we are a hunting state. We are rich in that tradition. We're a red state. We vote blue. Consistently.
Well.
Consistently vote blue. So when you talk about like, okay, hey, we really want to have hunting rights on the ballot it will fail. Because blue will probably win and they don't like hunters. Mm-hmm. And it's Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and maybe State College Harrisburg in some cases.
Sure. Yeah, your city centers.
And that's where the populations are.
Mm-hmm.
The whole popular vote thing has, I mean, again, not trying to make this, because we've been called communists before, which is kind of funny.
You and me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Like, understand the democracy side of things. The by popular vote thing is unique, right? In that if we look at voting and where those city centers are and then what the land mass of the rest of the state is, because of the way those city centers have to operate, right? You're not going to hunt in the city of Philadelphia, right? So like clearly they're not going to be in favor of a lot of those things. Whereas the rest of the state where you're full of hunters, but don't have the density of those populations to experience that, it's gonna fall short to the Philadelphia side.
Well, they're just completely different cultures, totally different society. Like it's not at all.
And that's how
there's nothing similar about them.
It much like we talked about, Dan, with the North American model for conservation. The reality is the popular vote system is flawed as well. The delegate system is flawed as well.
Well, and over time, as they shift towards city centers away from where it was originally set up on like
there you go.
Pretty evenly distributed population.
100 years ago, that population, yeah, there were definitely a lot of people in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. But 100 years ago, it was way more spread out throughout the center part of Pennsylvania. Same with Ohio, same with Wisconsin, right? All these places. Illinois. Now look at it, and those city centers are bright, like just pulsating with the amount of people in them who ultimately, however those cities vote, however Pittsburgh and Philadelphia vote in the general presidential election this year, that's who wins the state of Pennsylvania and all their delegates.
Mm-hmm.
Period. But that doesn't represent the lifeblood of the state of Pennsylvania. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be included. They should. But they carry the popular vote, thus carry the delegates to the general election. Meanwhile, the entire landmass in between thinks completely different than they do.
Well, yeah, and I don't necessarily think that voting should be based off of like number of acres or amount of land and stuff, but it's like it's worth considering. Cities don't survive without rural areas. It's like everything is brought in. Cities in and of themselves are not self-sustainable. So I don't know how you kind of like tease that out, but
yeah, I don't have a solution for it. I'm just saying, because much like the North American conservation model has not evolved, so too has the popular vote and delegate not evolved to how the changing landscape is. They need updates. That's the reality of it. Is we're in 2024. These things that were developed long time ago and used are now fatally flawed, and we got to fix that. But it's how do you get those passed when the voting happens in the fatally flawed system?
Yeah, you got a lot of undoing to undo.
I don't think you can reset it. Like the system that's flawed will not vote to reset the system. That would effectively kick them out.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot of issues. There's an insurmountable, there's no way in a podcast we can. I mean, I've gained some clarity like over the years that we've been talking about it as to which issues, and there seems like some pretty glaring errors and also some negligence on the lawmakers' behalf to just kind of like let money kind of make the decisions and stuff. And
I mean, if your state's got something like this, like, I mean, Hunter's Advocate of Ohio, we've talked with Kevin. We're working closely with Kevin. Obviously, Skip and Taylor and these guys with the Iowa Sportsman Club and Chris out there, Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Like, we've been in touch with some of these people. They've reached out. We've had Dan in Colorado. We've had conversations with them. Like, we're happy to use our platform to have these discussions. They're important issues that, frankly, the majority of hunters don't even know are happening. Don't even know how they can make a difference. To your point, probably think the DNR or the Game Commission or Wildlife Department is doing what they're supposed to be doing for them at that level. They're not. Yeah. It's not their fault. It's just they don't have the money, they don't have the people, they don't have the funds to do it.
Well, and it's, it sucks that in the meantime, it's like, dude, people are just struggling to put food on the table.
I know.
Like, we're
hemorrhaging
in such poor shape economically and stuff that, recreationally, like, that's going to be the last thing on your mind.
Yeah, you can't pass around the collection plate and ask for $10 when then that $10 put food on the table today.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So
and unfortunately, the people who have disposable income are taking advantage of it, and they're just hammering at the legislative level right now, and they're beating us everywhere we put, because we're by nature a poorer audience, right? We're a poorer demographic. We don't have the organization, and we don't have the collaborative funds to go and fight at those levels. These other groups do, and they're going to keep hammering, and they're going to keep taking advantage of that situation until it changes.
Well, and in the past, we haven't really had, the resources have been, speaking of a very long time, resources have been plentiful. So it's like, man, we just kind of people would keep to themselves and we had room and time to hunt.
Slowly infiltrated.
Yeah. Well, just, as there's more and more people and resources get more and more depleted and exploited. And frankly, you see wealth gaps bigger and bigger, with, in the past 3 years, frankly, there's nothing like that, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to, and it's not to be pessimistic. It's more of a, this is a call to action.
Yeah.
Right. This is a, pick up the arms type of thing. Not literally, but call to arms essentially of hey, we got to figure some shit out here. And be organized and be coordinated in our attacks here. We know that the timing is not best because of the economic situation and how inflation is, and everybody's just trying to fight their own fight on the home front. But the reality is we've got to make some sort of attack and plan and organization to change things here. If we don't, and I'm not saying if the government says, hey, you can't hunt in Pennsylvania anymore, it's illegal. Yeah.
Won't. That won't be the strategy. No, the strategy will be make the resource worse until there's nothing left to fight for. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Well, there's a move right there in Kentucky that could do it. If all of a sudden, they're like, hey, you can kill 10 deer a year in $4.
It's happening. Yeah, dude, the more crossbows we let into archery season, the more, corn piles we allow to still be out there. The more we allow technology to infiltrate stuff, the worse it will get, and the less desire we will have to fight for it. And that's how it will go.
And the less numbers we'll have, so that legislatures don't care because we don't have numbers.
10 years from now, you could look and say for what? What's left to fight for? It's we will forget what a mature buck used to look like, or what hunting on permission used to be. It's
doesn't exist.
There's no way that those things kind of come back. So that's why you have to fight to protect the resource now, so that we can preserve it. Conservation. That is conservation.
It is conservation. And the reality is, and we should be proud of it too, is that, hunters and anglers are the ones funding conservation. We're the last line of defense. We are funding conservation. The people who get to enjoy driving through some of these places and seeing wildlife and seeing fish, and they're not paying for it. We are. It's on our bill. We're taking it. We're picking up the tab, basically. We should have pride in that. But with that pride comes a responsibility and a voice to make sure that we aren't going to be choked out of that duty either. The more we're choked out of that duty, the less voice we have. And that's a problem. It's a significant problem. We're already seeing it happen in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would say, do some research locally, see if you've got an organization that's out there fighting for our voices, that is a lobbyist group. I know that probably in the last 10 years, that's been a dirtier and dirtier word that, it's man, lobbyists but we need them. because everybody else is using them. If we don't have them, we're screwed.
Yeah. We'll post some links to those organizations in
we've got a few
bio here too.
And most of them are cheap memberships probably and cheap donations to get involved. And if I can give somebody $20 to like help hear my voice heard, like sure, like I'll figure it out. I'll try to make it happen. So yeah, we'll see. And I don't know, maybe call to arms of like, can we build a bigger organization? I don't know. I have no idea, but after talking with Dan and stuff, it definitely feels like we need to go on the offense here a bit, and not just constantly be playing defense and defense and defense. We gotta go after some things. And Iowa's doing that. I think Skip and Iowa are the first people that I've heard are like truly on offense, as well as like fighting off defensively some of these things that are being thrown at them. Yeah. That's huge. The moment that you turn the field and you start to go on offense, you're going to scare the shit out of people because they've never had to do this. They've always just been attack, attack, attack. They don't have to go on defense. They don't have to fight anything. The moment they have to go on defense and have to pull resources to defend a position, they can't do it. They have money. They don't have the knowledge base.
Well, there's no, what's the word? The root of their argument. It's a baseless. It's baseless stance that they have there.
They just throw money and push a baseless argument. The moment they have to defend,
it's emotion.
An argument that is, biologically justified or whatever it might be, with money behind it, they're gonna fall apart. They're not gonna be able to argue it. But they've never had to do that. We've never put them on their heels. Put them on their heels. Push them. We do it. We're trying to do it in mainstream America, right? We tried to do it with Trump in 2016. We pushed him back enough that, frankly, things got weird in 2020. Here we are again, staring at it in the face. It'd be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, it's
going to be a weird year, dude. Just election year.
Yeah, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but I'm telling you, man, if there's enough rumblings and enough unhappy people in this country that if shit seems sketchy in November of 24, I don't know.
Either way, either way, it's going to be messy.
Yeah. It's just, and that's politics in today's era. But yeah, we've got an opportunity here, I think, to align and organize and go on offense. It will take time. It will take work, but there's enough of us out there, and it doesn't have to be everyone. There's going to be hunters that, hunt on a weekend and they don't care. They don't even know this conversation's happening. But for us who really care about the resource, for us, for future generations, we're going to have to go out there and be the ones on the front line, the infantry fighting it. So, cool.
There you go.
Call to action.
Caught up.
There you go. Get you riled up on a Tuesday night,
So, we went to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
You went to
Michigan,
mm-hmm. which spurred, frankly, all this conversation, which we didn't plan today, but we never do. And
we didn't plan it.
Yeah, so those issues are ongoing and stuff. In the meantime, a lot of March stuff happening here. We're kind of,
frost seed
work mode. Yeah, working towards, hey, before you know it, we'll be getting stubby on ahead there, and getting into summer months, and dude, we'll be in North Dakota in a matter of April, May, June, July, August.
We've got applications
five
going
months.
in here soon.
Applications are coming up. So, frankly, April next month.
Yep.
We'll be looking at some of those. Iowa's coming up. So, that's kind of, where we're at. We're just kind of not a hiatus by any means, but, Nick's out this week. We're kind of just
feeling good about
plugging
spring.
Away.
Good weather. I seeded some spots, some of those new plots in Ohio the other day. Think I've got, I'm now like squeaking at the camera. I'm like, is that germination? I can't really tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
my cereal rye is cranking right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, since that sun's come back.
But I got some clover in behind the house here in PA. Just frost seeded some stuff in to try to grow some stuff here through spring and summer. So yeah, feeling good about it. Hearing some turkeys gobbling.
Heading to the boat shop from here. I'm going to leave in 10 minutes.
Trout season on the horizon.
Yeah, a little bit of trout season. I love to do some trout fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all kind of hanging there. So it's not a bad time to be out. We're out of February. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So, but well, we appreciate everybody listening to us yak away on this stuff. And just check into your local organization, see what's out there, or just talk to somebody else about it. Maybe you're thinking about the same things we're talking about here. And we appreciate you listening to 174 HUNTR Podcast, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Later.
Take me